forward, follow me. If I hesitate, push me. If they, I am, may kill me, avenge me. If I am a traitor, kill me.
Gangsters, cops, and politicians, get ready to rock. We're on a mission. Each one of us shares our own vision. When I was on the yard, I went real hard. While I patrolled the streets, all the G's on me. When I was on the yard, I went real hard. While I patrolled the streets, all the G's on me.
Saludos, it's your host, Gabe Morales, returning to cover Nuestra Familia members over the past 6 decades or so. We'll continue with the V last names, as in validation. Speaking of validations, if you haven't yet caught it, try to check out my episode on security threat group validations in the California Department of Corrections and other systems. As I've stated before, I don't mention anybody here who I don't have hard documentation on. And I think my research is pretty good. Every once in a while, somebody will say, I got it wrong, but they won't state what is wrong. Don't just comment, you're wrong. Tell me exactly what I got wrong. Give an example. I've had several people do that, and I reply back with even more documentation. Believe me, I'm very careful in what I put out. And I wouldn't do so unless I feel 99% confident that my information is accurate. But hey, you might be one of that 1% that shows me where and when I got it wrong. So don't be afraid to post. Just make sure you do so respectfully, or your comment will be removed and you'll be banned from future viewing of this channel. I'll start off with Vincent Vasquez. I'm not exactly sure where this vato is from, but I know he did BOP time under number 03715-000. I believe he was housed at Big Sandy in the year 2007 when he was sent a picture of Fresno Bulldog member Mousy Morales. I believe it was sent in by Mad Dog Cervantes' brother, Joker Marquez. But soon after that was done, Mousy, who had changed his moniker to Mariachi, was seriously hit. FYI, Fresno Bulldogs often can function with Nuestra Familia in the BOP, which is not the case back in California in CDC facilities. However, it is a good example how these guys will do their own criminal background checks and validations on individuals and punch their number if something comes up bad. Several viewers have mentioned Steven Wolfy Vela Prado, Morgan Hill. He was a very active NF member for many years under B number 71322. I showed that he was housed with Black Bob Vasquez, Corny Tristan, and other NF heavyweights that have been mentioned recently in this series, F. Olson 4A in 1982. And it is my understanding that Wolfy was considered a captain at that time. His brother-in-law is said to be Mousy Lerma, who was also from Morgan Hill, who was a longtime Nuestra Raza member. And last I checked, old man Wolfy was still around. Let me know what other stories and memories you have about Wolfy. I will briefly mention the Venegas brothers, that being Guadalupe, Joe, and Sammy. Lupe was killed in January 1976 by the NF. Joe, a.k.a. Cucaracha Venegas, was a very active member in the mid-1970s under B number 54645. Understand he was housed at DVI in 1976. But after they killed his brother Lupe, distanced himself from the organization. And of course, there was his older brother Sammy, who was a well-respected NF member for many years when he had B number 64385. Understand that he was a major dope dealer in Fresno as well as within the institutions, such as CTF Soledad. Understand he also moved dope at CMF Vacaville under the Babasosa car and was involved in the May 1977 Bakersfield raid when the NF tried to take out NFM founder Chalo Hernandez. Understand he made multiple complaints to the NF and was shot in 1977 as well as 1980, which was the year that he was finally validated by CDC as being NF. He returned to CDC with C numbers in Charles, 1255535. Sammy, who is charged in the 1982 RICO case under BOP number 00556-000. But I understand by that time he no longer associated himself with organizations and was released from federal custody in May of 1996. Understand he returned to custody and was housed in Avenal in 2012. There was William Flaco Vic, aka Sticks, from Milpitas, Mario Mas Locos. He was a very busy Nuestra Raza member during the 1990s. When he first came on my radar, I know for a fact that this guy was moving a lot of huilas. I was first advised by CDC that he was a major communicator for the Nuestra Raza and NF in the 1990s when he had K number 81952. I believe he hit San Quentin around 1996 and was housed at Solano in that same year. He then started working for Wino Sarowski around 1998, and I think Flaco had hoped that he was putting in enough work to eventually be made NF. However, this was the time period of the RICO case. And to be honest, I think he was played by both Wino and Lizard Hernandez. I would say I know William Vic pretty well. Or at least I thought so. It is no big secret. When he became a dropout, he testified against multiple NF and Nuestra Raza members and started his own YouTube channel called A Convict's Perspective, which was one of the first prison gang genre channels that I know. Like I said, he's very well versed in NF and NR history, and I have no shame in saying that we've exchanged information on occasion. And I sent him a copy of my book, which he and many other NF and NR members have admitted, even though I know some of them didn't want to, have stated is pretty good. You may not know it, but I received a lot of flack from law enforcement, even over old info, including in my NF book, and some old NF photos I loaned him. These individuals believe that I should not have shared any of that with him. But like I said, most of this is old info that happened over 2 decades ago, around the time of Operation Black Widow. I'm pretty sure Flaco himself would tell you I've told him multiple times I will not discuss current investigations and more recent info unless it's already been released in the press, such as a homicide committed within CDC. Nevertheless, some of those cops won't speak to me anymore because of it. What can I say? Prison and police politics. Nothing that I'm not used to. Flaco ended up hooking me up with another well-known prison gang genre who I will not mention. And as I recall, the interview on that show attained about 60,000 hits, which did give me an idea that I might be able to contribute some valuable information with viewers on YouTube. Just to be clear, Flaco was not the only one to assist me. Multiple individuals helped me get started on YouTube, which, as I've always stated, I've never been in it for the money. I can't say that about everybody, but I will never forget that Flaco has assisted me several times. I usually don't get personal in my videos, but despensa, too late with Flaco. He knows that I previously wrote a letter of recommendation for him on a court case he was facing. This was for a previous case, not his more recent case that he has. And I gave some advice to him in that letter on things to stay away from. I don't know that he really took that all in or any other advice I've given him in the past. But watch out. YouTube, the internet, TV, etc. can become very addictive, especially if you have an addictive personality already. You can easily get caught up chasing the dope bag or the money bag. So one must be careful, including me, not to get caught up and not to sell our souls over it. I know he'll probably not like this segment, and I know he's easily triggered, as he often makes reactionary videos on other videos. But I hope he hears the sincerity in my voice. This criticism is not a personal attack on his character. When I first met him, I knew a different Flaco, one that was trying to redeem himself and stated that his channel was meant to send a positive message. But I noticed a difference in more recent years. Many of you know that I teach communication classes, and although I still have some work to do in that area, research has shown us that words are only a small part of communication. Your tone and your body language say a lot more. When you say things like F this and F that every other word, that shows a negativity in your outlook towards life. That is not sending a positive message. I don't know. I guess some guys think that gives them more street cred. To me, that takes away from your credibility. So again, I'm not saying this to hurt you, but as somebody who wishes you well, somebody who wishes you nothing but the best for your future. I'll say it once again, although sometimes we may go astray and fall off, the important thing is to always get back up again and to never lose faith, if not religiously, at least spiritually. Otherwise, what hope do we have? There was a Leonard, a.k.a. Layo Vilches, who's out of Stockton. Understand that he was at least an NF associate in 1996 at the San Joaquin County Jail, and I believe was close to Mad Dog Cervantes. He was then charged by the feds under BOP number 93848-011. He then was housed at Allenwood in 2004 and at Coleman in 2006 through 2008. I showed that he was a Pollock with many of the other NF carnales in 2009 to 2014. There's Antonio Sombra Villagrana out of San Jose. The files and evidence that I've seen on Sombra is that he was active with the Northern Structure in the Youth Authority in 1989 and had parole by 1990. I showed then he was charged with theft of a motor vehicle in 1991, whereby he was given CDC number. He is an Edward 97494. He paroled in 1995, but then ended up catching a murder case in 1996 and was returned to custody. I believe at that time, he was considered to be at least an NF associate, if not NF. I show he was housed at Corcoran Shoe in the year 2002 and was part of the Carlos Terrazas car, who feuded with Lizard Hernandez. I believe he was housed at the Sierra Conservation Center in 2013 and returned to the Shoe. However, as they let guys out of the Shoe, he was moved to Solano in the year 2016, and I show currently is not in custody. He may have had a younger brother by the name of Hector, aka Flaco, who apparently also was involved in the NR with J number 13881. And their father, or Tío, may have been Frank Sleepy Villagrana, longtime NF member from the 1970s, who was arrested at the end of 1976 and was housed at DVI in 1977, as seen here. But oddly enough, Sleepy was not even validated until 2002 as being NF, and I show had paroled by February 2004. If still alive, he'd be 80 years old. There is Frank Cisco Villalobos out of Fresno. He was an NF member in the early 1970s with B number 21492, but I understand was murdered with Pablo Bini Nahera, Christmas Day, 1972, at CTF Soledad by Mundo Mendoza, Negro Cabral, and Huesos Gallegos. This became known as the Christmas Day Massacre. There was Sheldon Skip Villanueva, a.k.a. Tonal, out of San Jose. The documentation I have is that Skip was locked up in the YA around 1980 and then was transferred to the adult system in October 1981 when he was assigned C numbers in Charles 35909. Then showed he was housed at DVI in 1982 and was given the bonds in early 1984, along with individuals like Dancing Bear Miramonte. I show he paroled in April 1984 and started taking that movement out to the streets, where he was heavily involved in the drug business. I show he was housed at the Santa Clara County Jail in 1988 through 1989. Then, upon his conviction, was moved to Corcoran State Prison in 1989 with E numbers in Edward 8103. He was very active at Corcoran Shoe, but paroled by May of 1990. He then was involved in several homicides and was returned to custody in September 1991. He was prosecuted under the 1992 RICO case, as seen here, and was finally validated by CDC as being a Nuestra Raza in 1994. He continued to be active in NF politics and was known as being a captain on the overall governing body. He then was charged in the 2001 RICO case under Operation Black Widow. Apparently, he and his crime partner, Pony Mares, decided to test the waters in the BOP and were allowed to plead guilty without ramifications by the organization. They basically were trailblazers in the BOP, as multiple NF were convicted under Operation Black Widow and housed in federal facilities. When he had BOP number 02539-748. According to the documentation I have, he was housed at Sheraton in 2003 when he and Ponyboy kicked off a riot with the support of multiple ensoldados from the Pacific Northwest. After that, both he and Ponyboy were sent to Pollock in 2004 through 2010. However, I personally believe that Skip always wanted to be housed with the NF brass at the ADX, and he did this via taking out a former NF/Fresno Bulldog, as well as did a major hit on Floyd, aka Charlie O. Snell, discussed a couple episodes ago. And finally, the feds had enough and gave him his wish, and he was housed at the ADX. There was Billy Rebel Villarreal out of Barrio Campo Villa 21st Street, which is an old, well-known barrio in Washington State. Billy ended up getting popped by the feds and given BOP number 15473-085. Evidently, he was first moved to Tucson in the year 2004 and was schooled in the northern ways by Maestro Manuel Lujan, and he came to the attention of federal authorities as being a major dedicated soldado in the federal system and was moved to Pollock, where he was further schooled by Skip Villanueva and assisted directly during the hit of Charlie O on January 12, 2007 at Pollock. When people state there are no connections to the NF to Washington State, I just have to shake my head. And I show that Billy Rebel Villarreal was released from the feds in March of 2010. And finally, we have Robert, a.k.a. Brown Bob Viramontes from Morgan Hill. He was a longtime NF member since the 1970s with B number 76614 and was very close to Black Bob Vasquez, who I mentioned in the previous episode during the impeachment efforts against Babo Sosa and Death Row Joe Gonzalez. Brown Bob Viramontes ended up getting out in the 1980s, but coming back with C numbers in Charles 77856. And he was housed at Pelican Bay for many years with individuals like Mikhail Castillo and Smiley Ramirez. However, discussed in multiple episodes during the late 1990s, there was a lot of turmoil in the NF, and he became disillusioned with the organization. He said that he covered up his NF tattoo to the dismay of many younger NF, and also taught for Mothers Against Gangs about the perils of being involved in the gang lifestyle. This was also viewed with disdain by many NF members who believe he was poisoning young minds, and not the NF poisoning young minds. Finally, it was decided, even though he considered himself retiring in good standings after putting in 20 years of work, he was finally taken out on April 19, 1999 by an NF hit squad, with two shooters being Dreamer Escamilla and Bad Boy Bornillas, while Chucu Yen supervised, and Beto Aviles was the getaway driver, as discussed in previous episodes. I know a lot of guys who were affiliated with the NF and the Nuestra Raza who left those organizations after they took out Brown Bob and fellow well-respected Carnal Mikhail Castillo in the late 1990s. And so anybody who's listening to this who is either a gang member or thinking about being a gang member, you might want to think about it before you get in too deep. It is not showing weakness to leave the gang lifestyle. Actually, it is a very valiant and brave move. I live in Hawaii, but if you need help, I know of several organizations and individuals who could probably help you. But make sure you're really serious about that, because I don't want to waste their valuable time. I hope you make the best choice for you and for your loved ones. And with that, this is Gabe Morales signing off for Gangsters, Cops, and Politicians. If I go forward, follow me. If I hesitate, push me. If they, I may kill me, avenge me. If I am a traitor, kill me.
Gangsters, cops, and politicians, get ready to rock. On a mission, each one of us shares our own vision.